flowers to be thrown on the water. With all the passengers crowded out on the small deck, prayers are said by several of the rectors present, and hymns are sung as the warm tropical rain starts pouring down. Bahamas-born Albert Peters was 20 years old when, in 1906, he and two friends decided to head for the Isthmus. "We were all eager for some adventure and experience," he wrote. "My parents were against the idea. They told me about the yellow fever, malaria, and smallpox that infested the place, but I told them that I and my pals are just going to see for ourselves." He was in for a shock. Seeing the working conditions and the heavy rain and mud, he wanted to be back at home, but having spent all his money on the trip, he had no choice but to stick it out. Within a month, he had malaria and was hospitalized. "The first night in there, the man next to me died," he wrote, "and that's when I remembered my parents' plea and wished I had taken their advice." "Death was our constant companion," remembered another West Indian worker, Alfred Doughton. "I shall never forget the trainloads of dead men being carted away daily, as if they were just so much lumber. Malaria, with all its horrible meaning those days, was just a household word. I saw mosquitoes, I say this without fear of exaggerating, by the thousands attack one man. There were days that we could only work a few hours because of the high fever racking our bodies. It was a living hell. Finally, typhoid fever got me." Although the hardships of the construction period were shared in part by all the numerous nationalities who built the canal, French, American, Spanish, Italian, Greek, and many others, the West Indian workers were 3 times as likely as the others to die from disease or accidents, and their startling accounts are dominated by stories of appalling conditions and dangerous work. The loss of life was astronomical. With safety precautions incredibly primitive by modern standards, accidents were numberless. Constantine Parkinson, a Jamaican born in Panama, lost his right leg and left heel when the spoil-carrying train he was working on crashed off its rails. He was taken to the hospital and operated on. "After coming out of the operation in the ward," he wrote, "I noticed all kinds of cripples around my bed without arms, foot, one eye, telling me to cheer up, not to fret. We all good soldiers." "Some of the costs of the canal are here," wrote a sympathetic American policeman in his account of visiting the main hospital's black wards, which were always situated on the least favorable side of the building. Sturdy black men in pajamas sitting on the verandas or in wheelchairs, some with one leg gone, some with both. One could not help but wonder how it feels to be hopelessly ruined in body early in life for helping to dig a ditch for a foreign power that, however well it may treat you materially, cares not a whistle blast more for you than for its old worn-out locomotives rusting away in the jungle. Certainly the West Indians were treated as cheap and expendable by both the French and Americans. The working conditions were described by one as some sort of semi-slavery, and particularly under the Americans, there was a rigid apartheid system in place throughout the canal zone. Nonetheless, in spite of obvious resentments, the West Indian accounts are full of pride in knowing they were part of a great, heroic, and civilizing achievement. "Many times I met death at the door," wrote one worker 50 years after the completion of the canal. "But thank God I am alive to see the great improvement the canal has made and the wonderful fame it has around the world." Another commented, "We worked in rain, sun, fire, gunpowder, explosions from dynamite, but our interest was to see the canal finished because we came here to build it. Most of us came here with the same spirit as a soldier going to war. Don't dodge from work or we will never finish it." The men who built the canal did indeed go to Panama as soldiers to a great battle, and the fight to build the canal can be compared with an armed conflict.